It is indeed a very great night, and I'm going to spend some time in the remembrance of our master of this night. So please bear with me, salawat. Hazrat Abbas, salamullah alayh. The sixth Imam was asked, what was Abbas? This is what he said. Al-Jabal al-Azim. He was like a lofty mountain. وَقَلْبُهُ كَتَوْدِ الْجَسِيمِ. His heart was like a momentous wave. لَأَنَّهُ كَانَ فَارِسًا هُمَّامًا. He was a champion swordsman. وَبَطْلًا ضَرْغَامًا. A fearless warrior. وَكَانَ جَسُورًا عَلَى الطَّعْنِ وَالضَّرْبِ. And he was audacious amidst the spears and the blades that struck في ميدان الكفار والحرب, in the ranks of the enemies and in battlefield. We hear this is the stature of Abbas, that when he used to stand, people would be filled with awe of Abbas. Person reports that the grave of Abbas had become damaged. So I went underneath to fix it. And accompanying me was Sayyid Bahar al-Ulum. He said, "Oh, Master, if it's not audacious, may I ask a question?" He said, "Indeed." He said, "You recite from the pulpits that Abbas' stature was so lofty that as he saddled upon his horse, his feet would touch the earth." He said, "Indeed." He said, "Then why is his grave so small?" Ahlul Ulum struck his head against the grave of Abbas. And he said, فَقَطَعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. They cut him into pieces. He did not fall from his steed. The parts of his body fell to the ground. The Imam says, indeed, on the day of Qiyamah, Abbas will have such a rank that people will look at his light upon the arsh. They will say, "Who are these lights? The awliya and the awsiya." It will be said, "These are the shuhada of Karbala." They will say, "Whose is that light at the helm of the arsh, shining so brightly?" It will be said, "That is the light of Abbas ibn Ali." The Imam says, وَإِنَّ لِلْعَبَّاسِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ لَمَنْزِلَةً يَغْبِطُ بِهِ جَمِيعَ الشُّهَدَاءِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. He has such a rank that all the shuhada will be envious of on the day of Qiyamah. كَانَ عَمِّيَ الْعَبَّاسِ نَافِضُ الْبَصِيرَةِ سُلْبُ الْإِيمَانِ. My uncle Abbas had penetrative insight into things and was steadfast and staunch of faith. When we ask about the names of Abbas, we are told by his nephews, the Imams, his names are Abul Fadl, father of Fadl; Abul Qirba, bearer of the water skin; Abdul Salih, the righteous servant of Allah; Al-Muwasi, the consoler of Hussein; Al-Fadi, the one who sacrifices himself for Hussein; Al-Hami, the helper of Hussein; Al-Waqi, the protector of Hussein; As-Sa'i, the one who strives in the way of Allah; Qamar Bani Hashim, the radiant moon of the Hashimis; Hamilul Liwa, the bearer of the standard; Babul Hawaij, the door for the acceptance of all wishes; Saqqa, the one who quenches the thirst. It is said about some of these alqab, when Imam Ali wished to marry again, he went to his brother Aqil and he said, "Find me a woman from a noble lineage of warriors that will bear me a worthy child." He found the mother of Abbas, Ummul Banid, and she gave birth to Abbas. I have read this, that Ali carries Abbas in his arms, in his hands, then kisses his arms and begins to weep. He says, "By Allah, he will have them cut in the love of his brother." The announcement is heard in Medina by Bashir. Ya Ahla Medina, Ya Ahla Yathraba. La muqama lakum biha. O people of Medina, there is no place for you in Medina. Leave Medina. Zainul Abidin waits at the outskirts of Medina. Hussein has been put to death. An old woman comes. Silence, Bashir. This cannot be true. Maid of God, indeed Hussein has been killed. Where was my Abbas? Your Abbas was killed. How can anybody put Abbas to death? O maid of God, his arms were cut through treachery before his head was struck. He said, by God, if Abbas's arms were cut, then how did he arrive upon the plains of Karbala? I will say, Baneen, had you been there on the 11th of Muharram and seen how Zainab's hands were tied behind her back and how she descends upon the plains of Karbala upon the body of her brother, you would not have asked such a question. He was the bearer of standard. It has a long history. Ali has said in his khutbah, let the most bravest and the noblest and the pious of you bear the standard, for with it is the morale of the whole army. As the standard falls, so does the army. In Badr, Imam Ali bore the standard. In Siffin, many people bore the standard. Until in Siffin and Nahrawan, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya bore the standard. In the battle of Siffin, Imam Ali sat. And he said to his companions, observe the battle of my Hassan and Hussein. They observed. They said, O Ali, if it is not disrespectful, may we say something? He said, indeed. He said, we admire the battle of Hassan, his swordsmanship. But as far as Hussein is concerned, there is a man who follows him like a shadow and does not allow anybody to come near to him. He said, that is my Abbas. They said, Ali, why do you send your Abbas and Muhammad to war and keep back your Hassan and Hussein? He said, they are the children of the Prophet. These are my children. They are my eyes. These are my hands. It is the duty of the hands to protect the eyes. Ali was known for his swordsmanship. He would enter the battlefield and effortlessly put his opponent to death, to the extent that when Ali would appear in single combat, nobody would dare approach him. So Imam Ali used to wear a face mask. Person with a face mask appears into the battlefield and calls his equal. The most renowned warrior, Abu Sha'sa, appears. As he rides in front of him with a single strike of the blade, beheads Abu Sha'sa. There is a cry within the ranks of the enemies, appear not. He is Ali disguised. As there was this commotion within the ranks of the enemy, Ali rides up from the back, comes to this person, places his hand upon his face mask and begins to remove it. And this is how it is described, as if the full moon is appearing from behind black clouds. As Abbas's face shines through, Ali says, Ana Ali ibn Abi Talib, wa hada qamar bani Hashim. Abbas's stature. It is said when the spoils of war were brought inside the palace of Yazid, alongside the captives, Yazid looked from afar. He saw something, he stood up. He sat down again. His eyes fell at that thing again. He stood up. He fell down. For the third time he said, whose standard is that? There is not a place intact on that standard, save for the place where it was held by its holder. They said it was the standard of Abbas. It did not fall save when the arm of Abbas was cut. He says, Wallahi ya Abbas, abayt al-la'an. Abbas, by God, you refuse to surrender. This is how a brother pays a tribute to his brother and defends his brother. This was strength of Abbas. No wonder when Zainab was told that your veil will be extracted, She was baffled and she would say, where will Abbas be? No wonder when the children were told, you will remain thirsty, they used to think, where will our uncle Abbas be? No wonder Hussein refuses to give up. It is said that every time there were cries of jubilation, Shimr would ask, what has happened? And he did not smile on that day, save at one point where from Al-Qama there was a cry of victory. Shimr said, what has happened? Abbas has been put to death. He smiles for the first time. Now Hussein will not escape. You look towards the tent for the first time. Hussein holds his back and says, Ala alan, inkasara dhahri. Now my back has broken. But the bravery of Abbas is where? Think about this. Look at Abbas, the arms of Abbas, the strength of Abbas, the resolve of Abbas. Where is the strength of Abbas? Abbas is keeping guard behind the tents on the morning of Ashura. Zuhair ibn Qayn comes. He says, oh Abbas, do you know why your father asked you from Allah? Abbas says, Zuhair, it's a sensitive point. But since you have mentioned the name of my father, I have no option but to pause and listen to you. He said, Abbas, your father sought you for such a day. He places his feet inside the stirrup to such an extent that the horse comes upon its knees. Zuhair, do you wish to incite me at such a point? I shall show you something that you have not seen before. Somebody swears at Hussein. Abbas chases him, takes his spear from his hand and beheads him. And he kills 80 people and said to Zuhair, Zuhair, do not incite me again. But where was the strength of Abbas? Imagine a person with those arms that Abbas has. Imagine when those arms are severed. Imagine when those arms are the protectors of Hussein. His right arm is cut. He cries out, Wallah law qata'atum yamini, inni abadan uhami an dini. By Allah, even if you cut my right arm, I shall defend my religion and my Imam Hussein from the righteous progeny. His left arm is cut. He says, by Allah, through their treachery they have cut off my left arm, O Lord. But Abbas's true strength is beyond his arms. Is in the way in which Abbas controls himself. In the office of Walid, the lion of God and Ali rages. His eyes are filled with rage. Hussein places his hand upon the chest of Abbas. Abbas, control yourself. It is the 7th of Muharram. Unhinge your tents. Never. I shall initiate a battle against you. You will not move my brother from the banks of Al-Qama. Hussein, Abbas, remove the tents. Abbas is refusing. We hear from the Zakirin. Says Zainab, control your brother. When Zainab's message goes to Abbas, he is unhinging the tents and tears are rolling down his eyes. This is the control that Abbas has upon himself. The great strength of Abbas is in Abbas's resolve. Abbas has many other merits, but I will say this. That look at the position Abbas has been given by Allah. When we go for ziyarah of Hussein, and for any Imam, we do not give reverence to their Sahaba. But in Karbala, it has been placed in such a way that we are forced to visit Hussein and then visit Abbas independently. This great man had a dream of Lady Fatima, this great alim, and she does not look at him. Trembles and says, oh lady, have I done something wrong? She says, you do not visit my son. But dear lady, I go for ziyarah of Hussein every day. You visit my son Hussein and you visit my son Abbas very little. This is Abbas. Imam Sadiq goes, does ziyarah of Hussein at his head, then goes into the shrine of Abbas. Does ziyarah of Abbas from all four corners. Look at that Al-Qama, through which Abbas's arms were cut. If you go into the grave of Abbas, you will find Al-Qama going, kissing the feet of Abbas. But Abbas's merits are great. And I wish to explain one. We find in this description, Bani Asad के काफिले के लोग जमा हैं 11वीं मुहर्रम को 13वीं मुहर्रम को, लाशें बेसर हैं, रोंदे हुए हैं, नहीं समझ पा रहे किनका लाशा कौन सा है, कैसे दफनाए, उनसी निशानी डाले। एक घोड़े सवार आते हैं इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन एजाजी तौर पर, कहते हैं मैं आपको बताता हूं। एक चटाई मंगवाते हैं, उस पर हुसैन को लिटाते हैं, क्योंकि हुसैन का बदन इस कदर पारा पारा हो गया था कि सजाद उठा नहीं पा रहे थे। हुसैन के लाशे को जमीन में रखते हैं और एक छोटा सा लाशा 6 महीने के बच्चे का हुसैन के सीने पर रखते हैं। पैरों के बल अकबर को दफनाते हैं। बनी असद के लोग दौड़ते हुए आते हैं, कहते हैं ये शख्स सब लाशें उठा के ले आए, एक लाशा है लबे अलकमा जो हिलने से इनकार कर रहा है। सीने से उठाते हैं, पैर जम जाते हैं जमीन पर, पैरों से उठाते हैं, सीना जम जाता है। कहा वो हम तक नहीं आएंगे, हमें उन तक जाना पड़ेगा। सज्जाद आते हैं, अब्बास के लाशे को देखते हैं, जमीन पर गिरते हैं, कहते हैं वाह अब्बासा, वाह गुर्बता। ए अब्बास, आपके चले जाने के बाद आसमान मुनव्वर हो गए, जमीन तारीख हो गई। ए अब्बास, काश आप देखते जो मैंने देखा, वो सुनते जो मैंने सुना। आपकी बहनों पर कैसे कोड़े बरसे या अब्बास, किस तरह पुकारती रही वाह अब्बासा, वाह अब्बासा। Hussein's army has finished. Nobody has left. Abbas comes to Hussein and he says, oh brother, allow me to defend you. Hussein looks into the eyes of his Abbas and he says, Ya akhi, benafsa anti ya akhi. May my life be qurban for you, Abbas. Oh Abbas, if you go, the morale of my army shall break. Abbas looks, he says, oh brother, there is no army left. It is only you and I. Hussein is weeping, looking at his brother as if he's not going to see him again. There is a cry from the tents. Oh Abbas, take news. Has a child died of thirst? Abbas goes inside. What does he find? He finds little children rubbing the water skins against their stomachs in order to find little bit of moisture. He says, oh children, fear not. I shall bring back some water for you. He comes to Hussein. He says, oh Hussein, allow me to bring back some water for these thirsty, dying children. Hussein knows that this is his separation from his Abbas. As Abbas begins to prepare, he kisses Hussein on his forehead, then looks towards the sky and says, oh Allah, allow me to bring back some water. Hussein rides next to Abbas and goes to some distance until an attack is mounted on both of them. Abbas goes straight towards the Euphrates. Hussein is struck with arrows and is deterred from following Abbas. Abbas goes on, removes the blockade from the Alqama, enters within the Alqama, looks at the water, and in order to spur his horse to drink the water, he cups the water in his right hand and brings it towards his mouth. Then he looks at the water and he says, Ya nafsu, in ba'dil Hussein huni. Oh soul, prepare for that. This is Hussein facing death. Shall you drink of the cold water, Abbas? He throws the water. Wallah, ma hada fi'alu dini. By Allah, my religion does not allow me to do such a thing. Let my Hussein thirst and I drink. Abbas fills the water skin, comes out of the Euphrates. As he is making his way towards the tents, he wards off the blows of the enemy until somebody from behind the tree strikes Abbas's right arm. As Abbas's right arm is struck, Hussein from afar sees the standard descending. He cries out, Wa Abbasa! And he sees the standard lift again. Abbas moves forward, and another one strikes his left arm. The standard begins to fall. Abbas grabs the water skin with his teeth and directs himself towards the tent. As he's moving towards the tent, we find this, that they have surrounded him and they are striking him. There are two arrows that are released. One pierces the water skin. The other one pierces his blessed eye. When the water flows, Abbas stops his steed. We are told, فَقَطَعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. They surround him and they cut him into pieces. An iron mace is struck upon the blessed head of Abbas. Abbas's horse is bewildered. He carries Abbas away and drops him in a place. Hussein from afar, when he sees the standard of Abbas fallen, he grabs his back and he says, Alan inkasara zahri wa qallat hilati. My means are severed, my back is broken. He ascends his steed. Hussein sees not, he has lost his Akbar. He is unable to contain himself upon his steed. सर झुकाए हुए आगे बढ़ रहे हैं हुसैन. वाह अब्बासा कहते हुए जुलजना अखी की तरफ ले चलो मुझे. जुलजना रुकते हैं, कहते हैं जुलजना क्या मेरे भाई के पास आ गए. जमीन पर आए हुसैन का जुलजना अब्बास नहीं है यहाँ. और फिर देखते हैं तो कहते क्या पाते हैं, अब्बास का कटा हुआ बाजू. कहते हैं वाह अब्बासा वाह अब्बास. ठोकरे खाते हुए अब्बास के सराहने पहुंचते हैं. अब्बास का सर उठाते हैं, अपनी गोद में लेते हैं. अब्बास सर हटा देते हैं. कुछ कह रहे हैं अब्बास. हुसैन सुनते हैं. अब्बास कहते हैं शख्स कुछ देर ठहर जा, मेरे भाई का आखिरी दीदार कर लूं, उसके बाद सर कलम करना. कहा है अब्बास मैं आपका हुसैन हूं, आ गया. कहा मौला माफ करना, एक आंख में खून है दूसरे आंख में तीर. हुसैन ने अब्बास का सर लिया, सीने के साथ लगाया और जोर से आहो बुका करने लगे. इस तरह हुसैन रोए कि आदा और अशकिया रोने लगे. कहा अब रोते हो मेरा अब्बास छीनने के बाद. हुसैन बैन कर रहे हैं कि अब्बास के आंखों में आंसू टपकने लगे. कहा है अब्बास किस शे ने आपको रुला दिया. कहा है हुसैन क्यों कर न रोऊं, जबकि आपने मेरा सर उठाया है, खून और खाक से साफ कर रहे हैं. और मैं जानता हूं अनकरीब आपको भी शहीद करेंगे, लेकिन कोई न होगा जो आपका सर उठाए. ये हैं अब्बास. अब्बास तम तोड़ने लगे. थोड़ी देर के बाद जागते हैं. कहते हैं हुसैन क्या इरादा है. کہتے عباس آپ کو اٹھا کے لے جانا چاہتا ہوں. کہا حسین مجھے یہیں پر چھوڑیں. سکینہ سے میں نے وعدہ دیا تھا پر پورا نہ کر سکا. آپ کی سکینہ سے مجھے شرمندگی ہے، اور اگر زینب مجھے اس حال میں دیکھے گی تو زینب کا حوصلہ ٹوٹ جائے گا. حسین نے عباس کا علم اٹھایا، گھوڑے پر سوار ہوئے، دھیرے دھیرے بڑھنے لگے خیام تک. جب دور سے علم کو دیکھا تو سکینہ دوڑتی ہوئی آئی، اور سکینہ کے پیچھے بچے تھے اور ان کے پیچھے زینب تھی. سکینہ نے جب اپنے بابا کو پایا کہا اے بابا میری چچا کی کوئی خبر ہے آپ کے پاس؟ مارے گی لب فرات. زینب نے کہا اے حسین میرے بھائی کو واپس کیوں نہیں لائے؟ کہا مرتے دم بھی آپ ہی کی فکر تھی ان کو اے زینب. زینب نے منہ پر تماچے مارے، کہا واہ خا واہ ضیعتا واہ عباسا یا سیدی.